If you listen to the Democrats, we have entered into a constitutional crisis. Not a small crisis, not a medium crisis, not a big crisis, but a constitutional crisis. What has triggered them to go apocalyptic? Well, it's not just their views on inflation, which are significantly higher than everybody else's, but they are saying that the arrests of these two judges this week have changed the game. And you and I are glad that the game has probably changed, that judges are now being held to account and are being held accountable for their actions just like you and I would. If you obstruct a federal officer, you get arrested. Well, now judges seem to be getting arrested too. And this has a lot of people in Washington, D.C. freaking out. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And these are the things the mainstream media just won't cover. We won't hold people to account like they will by making stuff up, but rather by holding people to the facts. We got some senators and congresspeople over in Washington, D.C. saying all sorts of crazy stuff. And I know that's not a surprise to you. I know it's not a surprise that politicians would say crazy things, but they're doing it again. And every so often I feel the need that we need to get out there, see how crazy these people are, and think about maybe rebuking them and pushing back against what they're saying. All right, so Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, a renowned person of reason and moderation, I say that sarcastically, she said, this is not normal. And I think that we can all look at the situation and say, yes, this situation is not normal. We're not used to seeing judges arrested. We're not used to seeing judges obstructing federal officers from their courtroom. That's not usually what's done. So, yeah, we agree with Senator Amy Klobuchar that this indeed is not normal. But she goes on and says that this arrest is a drastic move threatening the rule of law and a, quote, grave step that undermines our system of checks and balances. Well, how would we not undermine this system of checks and balances, according to her? Just let judges do whatever they want to do? What happens if a judge steps out on the street and steals somebody's car? Like, do we have to kind of let them do that too? I mean, we don't want to upset the delicate balance of checks and balances that we have with the government. So should judges be able to do any crime that they want to do? They can go steal people's money and steal people's cars? That seems to be what the esteemed senator from Minnesota is saying. She is very, very upset that a judge is being charged with a crime, even though she's not disputing that the crime took place. Notice that. Now, I mean, if someone's like, this is crazy, the judge is clearly not guilty of this crime, the judge did not do the thing that they're being alleged that they did, I think we could then have some grounds of saying, is this some sort of political prosecution? Or maybe the charge is something that's not very serious. Something like, I don't know, falsely estimating things or signing the wrong forms, like a certain presidential candidate did. Getting hit with felony counts because he said that his buildings were worth this much, and some non-real estate people are saying that it was worth less, even though the banks themselves, who received these documents and were the ones who were the victims, said, we didn't lose any money on this. We got all of our money back. We got all the interest back. We're happy. Federal prosecutors are like, no. We think that these valuations were a lie. And so therefore, we're going to make this into felony counts. So that's not the kind of charges that we're seeing here. What exactly happened? This is coming from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Local newspaper there says, ICE officials arrived in Dugan's courtroom on the morning of April 18th When they went to the chief judge's office to make, clear what they're about to do, Dugan directed the defendant and his attorney. So she directed them to the chief judge to get it cleared by the chief judge that they were going to take the defendant into custody. Well, while they were there getting the permission and clearing it with the chief judge, Dugan directed the defendant and his attorney to a side door in the courtroom. That's odd. Directed them down a private hallway and into the public area on the 6th floor. And released them into the wild. Like, go, run. Now, this is a person. Let's see what he was being charged with. Flores Ruiz allegedly struck his roommate approximately 30 times with a closed fist and then attacked the roommate's girlfriend and a third person. So he violently attacked multiple people, beating them, and some of the injuries required hospital treatment. So some of these victims were actually in the courtroom when the judge gets the defendant, ushers them into a secret hallway, and then releases them without bond, without bail. Just, you're a prosecutor, and you're sorry, a criminal, an alleged criminal, and you're the defendant in this case, charged with criminal crimes, violent attacks. I'm just going to release you because I don't want you to get deported. So the case is just over, apparently. No declaration of being innocent or guilty, but rather we're just going to release this person regardless of whether they're guilty or not. And even though the victims are sitting in the courtroom, we're just going to just release this person out on the street, and they can just go flee and go do whatever. I mean, is that what happens if you or I commit a violent crime? Like, would you just get released onto the street? Probably not. If you think about a violent crime, if you use the wrong angry words or something like that, and YouTube reports you to the FBI back during the previous administration, you would have had the FBI showing up at your house, knocking on your door and potentially arresting you, like they're doing over in the UK. The UK, that they have lots of people spending 3-year terms in prison because they reposted a post from someone else on Facebook, or they hit like to something on Facebook. It's getting kind of crazy over there and in Canada, and yet this is what Klobuchar, the esteemed senator from Minnesota, says it's not normal that judges committing these type of insane actions for them to be held to account. So when the federal officers came back into the courtroom, the defendant is gone. Where is the defendant? So they go out to go search for him. Well, they find him fleeing, trying to get away, and they were able to apprehend him before he was able to make it out onto the street. But we have a judge actively aiding and abetting a fugitive with a federal warrant out for him. You can't have lower local courts, state courts, having their judges actively undermining federal officers from doing their duty. That's absolutely insane. Senator Klobuchar is not the only one who thinks that this is a dangerous precedent. Senator Tina Smith, another esteemed senator from Minnesota, said, if FBI Director Kash Patel and Donald Trump don't like a judge, they think they can arrest them. This is stunning. We must stand up to this blatant power grab. Republicans, how is this not a red line for you? Friends, this absolutely is a red line for me. I don't know about you guys. These days, I'm not so sure I'm a Republican anymore, but, I do see this as a red line. That if we don't arrest these judges for doing these things, that is a red line. Because while these people may seem a little bit crazy, they are absolutely right, except I mean it in the direct 180-degree different than they mean it. They mean it like, we can't let these arrests go forward. And I'm thinking, we can't let these arrests stop. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments down below. But, so we have this judge being held to account, and this is a local judge, a magistrate, a local official. This is not a federal judge. What do you think about federal judges starting to be arrested? That's something that we haven't talked about at this point yet, where we have people talking about the only way to really hold judges to account is to impeach them, when that's not really true. They could be arrested, couldn't they? Now, they can't really be arrested for the decisions that they make in their courtroom, right? Now, this judge is not being arrested because of her decision in a courtroom. She didn't rule her court case in a certain way or something like that, and it's not. She's not being held to account for that. She's being held to account for doing something beyond the scope of her official duties, that she's just resisting arrest for someone, evasion of police, and direct obstruction of justice, right? That's what she's being held account for. But what about these other judges? Judges that really think that they can play so fast and loose with the law, you have to wonder if there are other things that maybe they've played fast and loose with the law on. Maybe they could be arrested by the federal government. Now, I know that's a dangerous precedent right there, and that's something that we need to have conversations about. Not political targeting of people, judges in one way or another, but rather holding all of the judges on the federal bench to a much higher standard and saying, you know what, just because you wear that black robe doesn't make you immune to being charged with crimes. If you do something, you can be charged with that. You can be arrested. You can be held to account for that. So, that is one way. And yeah, it may mean that some judges that you like also get prosecuted, as well as judges that you don't like. But if we clear out judges, then we can just appoint new ones. Appoint judges that are actually going to follow the law, that aren't, insane up in their minds, right? So let me know what you guys think about that. Some of that's a little me throwing some stuff at the wall there. And some of you are going to say that those are some dangerous ideas. And maybe. But we live in dangerous times, that's for sure. We have a whole bunch of judges who are basically trying to run out the clock on President Trump and his administration. They allowed 10 million people to cross the border illegally into the United States without a single judge trying to halt it. And now that President Trump is trying to deport several thousand, tens of thousands, suddenly there is court orders flying right and left. And that just doesn't seem right. Just think of the many millions of people around the world who are waiting for U.S. embassies around the world to approve their visas to come to the United States legally. Millions and millions of people who want to come and be law-abiding citizens inside the United States, who bring skills and talents and investments to the United States, but rather we have all these people who have just cheated. They cheated and came in without approval, and many of them are just sitting on public welfare. They're not working. They're getting free housing. They're getting free cell phones. They're getting free food. They're getting free everything and health care from the federal government and states. And all of this is happening, and it's bankrupting the United States. It's bankrupting normal Americans who have paid into these systems, people who are on disability who paid as a worker in case that they would get disabled because of work. Their funds are being stripped away and being paid out to people who never paid into the system. Is that fair? No, it's not. And we all know that it's not fair, but when it comes to these judges and justices, they are okay with injustice prevailing. They're more focused on their politics than they are on actually seeing justice done. Fairness. On top of most courthouses, you have Lady Justice with the blindfold over her eyes, right? With the scales of justice. With a symbol that she doesn't see who the person is, but rather deals with people based on their case, based on the truth and on the evidence, not on what the person looks like. That's why the blindfold, right? Well, nowadays it seems like the judges and everyone else, it seems like the blindfold is off. They are prejudging people based on their politics and based on their skin colors. And it's a truly scary place that the United States has morphed into. As some have said, the punishment is the process. Just the fact that you could be charged with a federal crime and it take 3 to 4 years for them to declare you innocent. Your life would be just about destroyed if you were forced through a system of court cases, having to provide your own lawyers, and just all of those court hearings, and a lot of times imprisonment until your court dates come up. Sometimes 3 or 4 years after the alleged crime has taken place. Even if you're declared innocent, how do you get back that 3 or 4 years of your life? Friends, we have some serious problems, and the right to a speedy trial, which is enshrined in the Constitution, doesn't exist anymore. You can talk about all the rights that you have, but if you don't have the right to a speedy trial, you are susceptible of losing it all. All right, friends, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Thanks so much for joining with us. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.